Joining us, great friend, Pennsylvania Senator Pat Toomey. Pat Toomey, thank you. Welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Larry.
There's a bunch of things I want to get to, but
where to start?
Yeah, that's right. Where to start? That's exactly right, sir. Richard Neal says there's no wealth tax, but Ron Wyden says there is a wealth tax. It's a terrible idea anyway. I wondered, number one, what you're hearing, and number two, what do you think about this so-called billionaires tax?
Oh, Larry, it's an appalling idea. You know, confiscating the property of people is a very bad idea. And let's not even call it the billionaires tax. Let's remember, every one of these taxes ends up hitting the middle class. Remember the alternative minimum tax in the 1970s? That was passed. And it was defended on the grounds that it's okay, it's only the 150 wealthiest Americans that will pay the alternative minimum tax. By the time we got rid of it in 2017, it affected over 5 million taxpayers. That's what happens. The income tax, when it first started, it was only income above the equivalent of what is now $85,000 at a rate of 1 to 7%. And the idea that someday it might reach 10 was considered ludicrous. As you know, it got to 90. So this is just where it starts. This ends up being a very, very broad-based tax because there's no end to the demand for money on the part of our Democrat colleagues who will never have enough of other people's money to spend.
I mean, I find it hard to believe that the Democratic Party philosophy seems to be to penalize success, Senator, to penalize success. And all this stuff, you know, equity or equality, however they may say it, they want to level everything, not just level the playing field. That would be equality of opportunity. They want to level the finish line.
Right.
That's like an old Soviet model. But I thought, you know, these people who are billionaires today weren't when they first started out. But they're going to be taxed the whole period. That's one of the crazy anomalies in this.
Oh, I think it's completely unworkable. I mean, the chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee seems at some level to be acknowledging that and saying it won't be in, but Senate Democrats are insisting it will. I mean, they're in complete disarray, let's be honest. They can't figure out how to raise the massive amount of money that they want to spend. They have this combination of this burning desire to redistribute wealth. I mean, that's their fundamental purpose. But they also really have this itch they need to scratch, which is punish people for being successful so that they can foster the resentment that drives so much of their political motivation. It's a terrible situation. And I really just hope this all fails because it's all terrible for our country.
I mean, there's one thing that I learned from Reagan and Trump who would agree. You should reward success, not penalize it. That's the American ideal.
So, you know, the answer is success is rewarded if the government doesn't step in and intervene and disrupt it all, right? We don't have to, like, shower largesse on people who've been successful. Just don't confiscate their success is enough.
Right. Great point. So, Chris, quickly, Senator, there seems to be a lot of talk now about a minimum tax for domestic corporations, but also for the corporate income overseas. I don't know, I'll get your take. I think it's a lousy idea, but what are you thinking?
Well, they're both terrible ideas. You know, remember when we went after the tax reform in 2017, one of the things we wanted to do was make sure that American-based multinationals could compete with multinational headquartered in other countries. Remember the corporate inversions when companies would basically renounce their American headquarters, move overseas because nobody else in the world taxed companies as onerously as we did with respect to multinationals. Well, we fixed that problem. We did it in a sensible way, brought a complete end to these inversions, brought back literally trillions of dollars that was trapped overseas, that was invested in the U.S., and now our Democrat colleagues want to just blow it all up and impose this very onerous minimum tax on earnings that occur overseas. But that's not all. They also want to have this minimum tax on the domestic income. Right. You know, we define income for tax purposes through a a legal process, right? We go through legislation. We decided, for instance, that if you as a business want to invest heavily in your business and you're going to make capital expenditures to expand your business and hire more workers, we would allow the full expensing of that. Since you're spending that money, you can expense it in the year in which you spend it, rather than having to depreciate it over many years. Well, the gap accounting that our Democratic colleagues want to force on us here does not allow that expensing. That's one of the biggest differences between income for income tax purposes and the income that they're going to force, which, by the way, Congress never blesses. Gap accounting is not done by the elected representatives of the American people. So this is a very bad idea, and it's another, it's going to start, they say, with just the larger companies. Before long, they're going to go after everyone.
That's a really important point. They won't be able to write off new expenses for new technology, for training, for machinery, for automation. That's a
so you'll have less investment.
Important point. Yes, sir. Last one. I know it's your very favorite topic. New news about the nomination of, I think her name is Omarova, who went to Moscow State University on a Lenin scholarship. Now, she so far won't turn her thesis over to you or anybody else in Russian or English once it was posted, but no more. Now, apparently, she was part of a Marxist group that corresponded on Facebook. And this was not 30 years ago. This was, 2019.
Yes. So this is all part of a piece here, right? We have from Professor Omarova tweets that she made where she made favorable comparisons of the Soviet Union versus the United States. Now we discover that just 2 years ago, she joined this Facebook chat group, whatever they call it, that was explicitly dedicated to being a Marxist forum, where an anti-capitalist Marxist forum where if you didn't have those views, you were not welcome. She chose to join that. I think that's incredible that a person with these views would be nominated to be the chief regulator of America's national banks.
Pat, you can't make this stuff up.
No, you certainly can't. You can't.
I want to play myself in the movie. You should play yourself in the movie also.
All right.
Senator Toomey, thank you ever so much for coming on. See you soon.
Thanks, Larry.
All right, folks, coming up.